Hey everyone, and welcome to Plant-Based Cooking with John, your go-to channel for delicious plant-based recipes that won't break the bank. Whether you're a seasoned cook or just starting out, you'll find easy-to-follow recipes that use simple ingredients and basic kitchen equipment. On today's episode, we're going to be making the delicious appetizer Bruschetta, which we'll just use some delicious tomatoes, some basil. We'll put on some nice toast, and it's perfect, sophisticated appetizer that you can serve at a party or just even have as a snack. Let's check it out. All right, let's first start talking about the ingredients that we're going to be using for this recipe. So to start things off, we're just going to use a couple tomatoes. You want bigger ones like these beefsteak tomatoes. If you have Roma, that's fine too, but maybe just do 4 since they're usually a little smaller. We're going to need a couple cloves of garlic, so just 2 here. We're going to cook those down with some olive oil, so make sure you have that handy. We're also going to be using some fresh basil. You can get this at the supermarket, it's already pre-packaged, and this will really punch up the bruschetta instead of using just like a shaker of basil. This is way better, okay? We're also going to be using some balsamic vinaigrette and balsamic vinegar, and we're going to use this and make a balsamic glaze by using it with brown sugar, and we're going to reduce that down, and that'll be the topping on top of everything. But of course we need the vessel to hold it all together, and so I just grabbed some sourdough bread. It's sturdy and it's easy to toast, and I would definitely recommend this if amongst all other bread if you can get this. So let's jump right in. Alright, so let's start off by doing a little prep work here. I have my 2 garlic cloves. You'll just want to peel those, and then you'll want to slice these thinly. So not necessarily like a mince, but the way I like to cut this for the bruschetta is just like little thin strips, as thin as I can get them. And then when it gets too much or little room for my fingers, I just put it on the cut side, and then I'll just cut those. So we're looking about thin pieces just like this. I'll do this with my other piece of garlic. Now I'm going to cut the tomatoes. Now for the tomatoes, I just cut off the core piece first, and then a little bit on the bottom. Set those to the side because we can still use those. And then what we're doing is just cutting slices first. Once we get the tomatoes cut into slices, you're just going to stack them together, and you're going to cut down the middle into little square strips, and then take it all together, and then you're going to cut the other direction so that you'll have little pieces that look like this. And you'll want to do that for both tomatoes. Once you have your tomatoes cut, you're then going to transfer them into a bowl. And then when you have them in the bowl, you're just going to sprinkle some salt on here, about a ½ teaspoon. The next thing you'll want to do is grab 1/4 cup of your basil. I've already trimmed and washed this, and we're just going to cut the basil into some thin strips here. Alright, now I'm at the stove, and I'm just going to heat up a little olive oil in my garlic. This is also a good time to preheat that oven, so heat that up to 400 degrees. And while we're waiting here, I'm just going to grab 2 tablespoons of olive oil and throw it in the pot. And then I'm going to take my garlic that I minced and put that in there as well. And you're just going to set this to a low heat. And what we're looking for here is for the garlic to get nice and golden brown. All right, my garlic is now golden brown, so I'm going to take that and remove it from the heat. And now we have a nice, delicious garlic olive oil that we're going to use. We want this to cool, so we're just going to set that to the side. All right, now we're just going to cut some bread pieces. Now the key here is you want them to be handheld, but you also want them to be as uniform as possible. So what I like to do is take my larger pieces of bread and kind of use one as a template, okay? So if I'm going to use maybe pieces this big, what I want to do is just kind of leave that to the side right there and just kind of measure as closely as I can. If you have pieces that maybe won't look so good, just stick them to the side. You can use them for other recipes. But basically what we're looking for are nice little bite-sized pieces of bread, just like this. And this is up to you. Cut as much of this as you want, depending on how many people you're serving, because you can always save the tomatoes for a later date. The next thing I'm going to do is grab the tomatoes, and I'm just going to strain the extra water out of this. This will make this this topping a lot less watery and a lot more flavorful when we add the garlic and olive oil to the mix. So I'm just going to dump that in a strainer, make sure that all that water gets out, and then once you feel like all the water is out and the salt kind of extracted some of that water, basically as dry as possible, then you'll just put these back into the bowl. Do a little bit more salt for the salt that was lost. You can then put the basil into the bowl. And now that the garlic oil is cooled down, I'm going to pour that right into the mixture as well. Now that I have my bread slices arranged on a sheet and with parchment paper, I'm now going to stick this into the preheated oven, and we're going to cook this for about 10 to 15 minutes. And you want to make sure that you flip the bread halfway through the cooking time so it gets cooked evenly. While my bread is toasting, I'm going to use the same pot, and what we're going to do is take a half cup of your balsamic vinegar and put that right there into the pot. And then you're going to take 2 tablespoons of your brown sugar. You want to put this on a medium heat, and what we're looking for here is for the sugar to break down so the balsamic comes almost syrupy. You're going to know that it's done when you have bubbles that are staying on the surface and not popping immediately. So this will probably take about 5 to 10 minutes. My balsamic is still simmering here, but I know that my toast is done, so I'm going to just pull that right out of the oven here. Okay, looks good. And now I'm going to just put this on a plate while I'm waiting for the balsamic. All right, the cook time is coming to an end because I can tell that the bubbles are actually staying on the surface. A lot of them aren't popping, or at least not popping until a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat, and I'm just going to set this to the side, and I just want this to cool before I put the toppings on. All right, I have my bread laid out right here, and I have my delicious bruschetta topping. So now I'm just going to scoop a little bit at a time, make sure that a lot of the water gets off so it doesn't make the bread soggy. And then you're just going to place this on each of the pieces of toast. All right, I have my cooled syrupy balsamic glaze now, and I'm just going to drip this and drizzle this onto the pieces, just like so. Nice and gentle. Because it's syrupy, it'll kind of stay on the toast a little better, but then you just want to do this for each one. And then, my friends, you have delicious bruschetta. All right, who knew sophistication could be this easy, right? I mean, look how pretty this looks. anyone would like to stick their hands onto this plate of delicious appetizer, delicious bruschetta. Let's give it a quick try and see how it tastes. That is so good. So you got the crunchiness of the toast. Excuse me. You have the tangy yet slightly sweet balsamic, and then the fresh basil, the fresh tomatoes. You can taste the garlic oil that we used. And yeah, this is just so classic and classy, if I must say, but an easy thing to prepare for a little party. Great appetizer snack, super delicious. For storage of the bruschetta, make the bread as you go so it's fresh and crispy when you prepare it. But for the actual tomatoes inside the marinade, the longer that that's kept in there, the better it's going to be. I would even recommend waiting 24 hours before you serve it. So make this ahead of time so it gets all marinated in there. And I would say keep in the fridge no longer than a week. All right, that does it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Definitely hit the alert bell, subscribe, like, and until next time, we'll see you then.